Leica enthusiasts, call the bank manager, sell all your Bitcoin, because there is a new Leica M series. It's the Leica M10-P. But what exactly are the differences between the original M10 and this new version? Let's have a closer look. So this is it, the new Leica M10-P. Now, I was at the London launch of the camera earlier today, and I've got this camera for a few days now, so I can check it out in a little bit more detail. But this is just a quick first look and a run through of all the new features of the camera. And it's going to be quite a short video. And the reason it's going to be quite a short video is because this is essentially the Leica M10. We've got the same 24 million pixel full frame CMOS sensor in here. The ISO sensitivity is the same. We've got 100 to 50,000 ISO, and we've got a 5 frame per second shooting rate. Essentially, at its core, it's exactly the same camera. Now, the first thing Leica users will notice in terms of what's different is we've got no red dot logo on the front here, just instead replaced with this kind of screw. And then on top here, we've now got the very lovely engraved Leica Wetzlar camera logo on top, again harking back to Leica's heritage. This was the logo you'd find on earlier M series cameras, and on the Leica 3 I think had something very similar, or has something very similar on its top plate. Again, on reverse, we've just got a very simple made in Germany there. We've lost some of the other details. And in terms of the aesthetics, that's it. We've just got this very minimalist industrial design that is something we've come to expect from Leica. So that's the kind of design tweaks taken care of. But the really big new feature is the fact that for the first time in a Leica M series camera, we have a touchscreen display. So it's the same 3-inch 1 million pixel resolution display that we'd seen on the Leica M10, but now you can double tap the screen and that then pulls up a magnified view, and then you can use your finger just to scroll around the screen and just really fine tune that focus. Also, something that you can see on the live view is there is a new electronic level function. So that if you tilt the camera up or down slightly, or if you're moving or rolling slightly left or right, it will tell you that you need to correct that. And like every other electronic level, it just highlights green when the camera is perfectly level and then red when it's not level. So the final kind of big new shout out loud feature actually doesn't shout out loud at all or make a big song and dance, and that is because the shutter is actually the quietest shutter that has been on a Leica M series camera. Now I'll just fire it off. Now let me just hold it up to the lav mic in case you didn't hear that. I'll do a quick comparison. This is just a couple of other cameras I've got in the studio to hand. I'm not saying the other cameras are particularly loud or particularly noisy, but it should just give you a little bit of a comparison as to what the volume of the Leica M10-P is like compared to a couple of other cameras. So once again, just up to the lav mic, Leica M10-P. That's at 30th of a second shutter speed, and so are both these other cameras. This is the Sony A6500. And now we've got the Panasonic Lumix GH4, again 30th of a second. And back to the Leica. Okay, so hopefully you picked up on that. Now, it's not the most scientific of tests because I wasn't necessarily holding them exactly the same distance away. You know, there was a millimetre, centimetre here or there, but it should give you a rough idea of just how quiet the shutter on the Leica is. Leicas have always kind of set the standard in terms of quiet, discreet shutter, and this just obviously takes it to that next level. Now, the argument, of course, is that in a lot of mirrorless cameras these days, you have a purely electronic shutter as an option where you literally can press the shutter button and there is no sound. It's just taking that picture and firing a virtual shutter, if you will, from the readout from the sensor. So there comes a point where obviously all the mechanical engineering and design that's gone into this is quite incredible and fantastic. They've made that shutter so quiet, but it's not like this is a feature that you can't find elsewhere on other cameras these days. However, I do have to say I'm still a sucker just for that nice mechanical kind of shutter sound that you do get from a Leica camera. And so that's it. As we see, there's not a vast difference from the M10. We've got the dedicated ISO dial, you've got your shutter speed control there, and then obviously you're adjusting the aperture ring on the lens itself. The back is very minimal in terms of its controls. As I said, it's identical to the M10. We've just got 3 buttons down there, the screen itself, and then just the navigational control on the right hand side. Very, very simple to use. We've got no inputs or outputs. You've got your card slot and your battery in the bottom, but there's no headphone, there's no microphone, there's no HDMI, there's no USB, there's none of that. It is a very, very simple camera to use, and it is probably as close to a film camera as you're going to be able to get in terms of a digital camera. Okay, now let's get on to the fun bit where no doubt you'll have loads and loads of comments. So the Leica M10-P, it's going to retail for £6,500 body only. Now, as a comparison, the Leica M10, which is still going to be available, it's not being discontinued, that is currently around £5,750. So you're paying £750 for the quieter shutter, the touchscreen, the electronic level, and the slightly different design tweaks on here. So as I said, I've got the camera for a few more days. I'm going to go out and do a bit more shooting with it, but to be honest, I kind of know what to expect. It's going to be the same as the M10 in terms of image quality, but I'm just going to check that touchscreen a little bit more, see what it's actually like shooting in real world circumstances. But from what I've kind of seen playing about with it in the studio here, it's pretty good. I think a lot of photographers are really going to enjoy using it. That's my first look of the Leica M10-P. If you're new to the channel and you've not seen us before, we do videos like this around once a week, kind of first looks, reviews and features on the latest cameras, lenses and photo kit. So make sure you hit the subscribe button to keep up to date with all the latest photo gear news and reviews.